What is up, YouTube? Today, we are going to do a guitar story. Now, in my guitar collection video, I briefly kind of talked about how long I've had this guitar. I think it's the one I've had the longest out of my collection at the moment. This is a 2001 Gibson Les Paul Deluxe. And in the other video, I talked about how much I had modified this guitar. As you can see, it doesn't have the mini humbuckers in it anymore, all that kind of stuff. So if you want to know all about the mods of this guitar, watch the guitar collection video. But this guitar means a lot to me. My dad got me this guitar when I was 17 years old. I am about to turn 35. So this guitar has been with me through a lot of stuff. A lot of tours, a lot of gigs, a lot of recordings. There's been times in my life where I've pretty much just lived in my car with everything I owned that could like fit into it. And this guitar was there with me. I've written more songs on this guitar than any other guitar I've ever owned. This was my first Gibson Les Paul. Yeah, I don't really... There's just so... I mean, I could talk about this guitar for hours, so I'm going to try to keep it in like a short, digestible video, but this guitar has a really cool story, so I'm going to dive into that. When I was... So I got to go back a little bit. When I was probably about 14 or so, one year for Christmas, I got some money. And like I said, I think I was about 14 maybe. And I went to the local record store and I found this record, AFI All Hallows EP. This is one of my favorite records ever. Also, as you can see, I mean, yeah, this record means a lot to me for a lot of different reasons. And one of them, so I didn't have a lot of money, 14-year-old kid. I think I got like $20 or something like that for Christmas from my grandmother. So I went to the record store and I didn't want to spend it all on one thing, right? So I found this EP. It only has 4 songs on it. It's an EP. And I found this CD. It wasn't this vinyl that I bought back then. It was just a CD. And it was only like $5. And I was like, okay, cool. That leaves me the rest of my money to do other things with, right? So I bought it. And if you can see here, the guitar player Jade is playing a black Gibson Les Paul Standard. I mean, you can barely make it out, but it's a black Gibson Les Paul Standard. And I used to sit in my room and read this lyric sheet and look at this picture of him and listen to this EP and just obsess over this guitar. I loved this guitar. I was like, I have to have a black Les Paul Standard. That's what I wanted. So I was in a community youth orchestra called the Etowah Youth Orchestra. And it was a really cool music program for like, high school kids around the area where I lived. And so I picked up the viola in 5th grade. So I was I took viola lessons for years. Went to college for viola and everything. But so when I was taking my private viola lessons, it was on the same day that the orchestra had rehearsal. So I would get out of school. I think it was on Monday. So I would get out of school at like 3:30 in the afternoon. I'd have my viola lesson, and then orchestra rehearsal wasn't until like 6:30. So I had like 2 hours between after my viola lesson ended and orchestra rehearsal began. And so there was this local music store a couple blocks down the road. And so I would get done with my viola lesson. I'd take my viola over to the rehearsal area where the orchestra rehearsed. I'd put it in there, and then I would go down the street to this local music store. And they were a Gibson dealer, and they had tons of Gibsons in there, but they had this, a black Gibson Les Paul Deluxe. And so at the time, as a young teenager, I didn't really know the difference between a standard and a deluxe. I just thought, oh man, this looks exactly like the guitar in, the fold out of that record. That's all I knew, was that this looks like Jade's guitar. So I obsessed over it. And I would go in there every day and I would play this guitar for an hour, hour and a half before I had to go back to orchestra rehearsal. Every Monday for like 2 or 3 years or something like that. So this guitar sat in there for years. So like I said, this is a 2001 model. And I bought it in 2005, I think, 2006 or 2005. So it sat in there a while, right? Because it was brand new. It wasn't like a traded in guitar or a used guitar. Like, I'm the only owner of this guitar. So it just sat in this music store for years. And I would go in there every Monday after my violin lesson and I'd play it. And I just, it was so unattainable to me at that time in my life. Like, when I'm like 14, 15, 16 years old, it's like I didn't have this kind of money, right? And like, if I'm being totally honest, they were asking a little much for it. Like, they kind of had it marked up a little bit, It's a small local music store, like, they're trying to compete with the bigger music stores. Like, I get it. But it was a lot of money. And I just didn't have it, I mean, it might as well have been $100,000, you know what I mean? Like, I just didn't have that kind of money. And so I never thought I'd get it. And so years go by, and I'm still, the routine, going in there playing it. And the music store had decided that they were going to be a Fender dealer. And they were going to get rid of all their Gibson stuff. They weren't going to be a Gibson dealer anymore. Just Fender stuff. So they start marking down all their Gibson guitars. And they all start selling like crazy. Boom, 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 boom. Gone, gone, gone. So, I'm thinking like, dang it, someone's going to go in there and buy my black deluxe, And so I go in there one day, like I have been for the past 2-3 years or whatever, and it's the only Gibson left in the store. They're wall-to-wall Fender guitars, and over in the corner, all by itself, it's this one black Les Paul Deluxe. So I go over there and pick it up, like I always do, and I start playing it, and I play it for a little bit, and the guy that owns, or I don't think he owned the music store, but he worked there. The guy worked behind the counter. He was an older guy, and he was really good friends with my dad. They'd known each other a long time. Used to be in bands together and stuff, I think. So he comes over to me, and he's like, Devin, you've been coming in here every day, or every Monday, every week. You've been coming in here every week playing this guitar. He was like, no one wants it. It's your guitar. Like, he's like, you gotta buy it. And I was like, dude, I'm 17. I don't have any money. And he's like, how about this? He's like, call your dad and let me talk to him. And I'm like, okay. Well, I don't have a cell phone either, right? This is a long time ago. This is before cell phones were like a big thing or whatever. So I call my dad from the music store's phone. So my dad's at work, and he gets a phone call. And there was caller ID back then. So he gets a phone call from the music store, and he's probably thinking, like, why in the world is the music store calling me at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, or 5 o'clock in the afternoon or whatever, right? Like, he's just about to get off work, and he's getting a call from the music store. And it's me. And I'm like, hey, I can't remember the guy's name that worked there. I think his name was Randy, I think. I'm not sure, but I was like, hey, he said, when you get off work, come down here. Like, he wants to talk to you about something. And he's like, okay. And so, 10, 15 minutes later or whatever, my dad shows up at the music store. And they start talking, and they start talking. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, there's no way this is happening, right? Like, I'm just going to sit here and play it. And, like, there's just no way. This is impossible. There's no way. And my dad comes up to me, and he's like, got this look on his face. And he's like, I got to talk to your mom. And I'm like, about what? Like, I know you're not going to buy the guitar. I know you're not. Like, don't, like, whatever. So he goes outside with the music store's phone and calls my mom. And I hear him talking or whatever. And he comes back inside. And he's like, okay. And I'm like, you you gotta be kidding me. There's no way, right? So they make a deal. They wind up selling this guitar to my dad for like, I want to say like $1,300. I've got the receipt somewhere, actually, still in the original case. I think I've got the receipt somewhere, but I think they sold it to him for $1,300. I can't remember what they originally wanted. They were originally asking like $2,800 or $2,900 or something for this. You know, like way more than even 50% off, right? Like, so my dad bought me this guitar, and I just couldn't even believe it. I remember like I got it, I put it in the case, I took it to orchestra rehearsal, and it was just sitting in the case like by me the whole time, and I just kept staring at it like, I cannot wait to get out of here. I stayed up, when I got home, I stayed up all night that night playing this guitar. I came home from school every day and just played this guitar. Like this, I just couldn't believe I had it, you know, to be a 17-year-old kid and to have a Gibson Les Paul. I couldn't even fathom it, you know. It really did just blow my mind. It was, I mean, this is one of the best playing Les Pauls I've ever touched. I've played hundreds of Les Pauls. I've played custom shop Les Pauls, and they're all great, but I don't know. Maybe it's just the nostalgia or the sentimental value of this guitar. Like, there's just something about this one, though. The neck on it is so small and thin. You know, Les Pauls kind of have a rap for having these gigantic baseball bat, you know, Louisville Slugger necks. And this one isn't like that at all. It's so thin and small, and like, it just fits my hand perfectly. I have pretty small hands for a guy, so it just fits my hands perfectly. And I just couldn't believe I had it. And I remember like the first show I ever played with it. You can see it's got Grovers on it. It didn't come with those. It came with Clusons on it. The first show we ever played, I busted all the tuning keys off of it. I hit it against my drummer's cymbals, and all the tuning keys broke off. So I went to the music store and bought Grovers and put Grovers on there, so the little plastic Clusons, you know, wouldn't break back off. But yeah, this guitar's just been through a lot. It's been with me all over the country. It's been with me. I might have taken this guitar to England. I can't remember if I took this one or not. But it's been everywhere with me. Really, it's kind of weird. You know, like, it's just a guitar. Like, at the end of the day, it's just a guitar. But to me, it's not. I couldn't imagine, you know, it's like a friend almost at this point. Like, I couldn't imagine my life without this guitar in it. It's been there for every, like, huge pivotal, you know, thing in my life. This guitar has been there. Over some people in my life. So, this guitar just means everything to me. I don't play it as much anymore these days, live, just because it weighs a metric ton. Like I said in the other video, it's pretty much my backup these days. But there's some kind of comfort knowing that it's there, even if I'm not playing it. It's like I can turn around, look at my rig, and in the guitar stand by my amp, there's my black Les Paul, and I'm like, you know what? I'm good. Like, I just knowing that it's there, that's all I need. But yeah, this guitar is a lifer. Obviously for me, and I've done so much to it, so many modifications. It's got the Bucky sticker on it, like, you know, it's just been through everything with me, and this guitar is like my best friend. So that is the story of my 2001 Gibson Les Paul Deluxe. So, if you guys dig this kind of thing, I might do some stories on some other guitars I've got. So, not all of them have a cool story like that. But I got a couple guitars that do have pretty neat stories. So, maybe I'll do another video like this if you guys like it. But, thanks. I hope you do. This is my boy right here. So, thanks. And we'll be back again next week with another video. See ya.